Well, it's been brought to my attention that some of you sick bastards will enjoy more quote-unquote commentary over all this madness that Leia and I do out here, currently at an unnamed spot in southern Utah. It is raining, far too windy. Overall, the conditions are grim, but it is our final afternoon here. And regardless of conditions, if we're going to do this, we've got to do it now. And what are we doing? 4 sheets with Winston 8x10 Corona pictorial view camera of a few select water abstracts, as I'm calling them. I have 4 holders, I have 4 sheets, 2 holders, with a contingency of another holder that has 2 sheets that's been loading in there way too long, so I don't necessarily want to use them. Anyway, there's only 4 shots that I picked out along the river here, and we're only going to get 1 shot at each. Now, if it turns out there's one that is extremely good, I think I might have messed it up, I will get out that other holder just to have a fail-safe. But then again, that film's been loaded up, I know, a month out in the desert, and it might not just come out. I think the rain's stopping. Good for us. So what we're going to do, take old Winston here, which we have covered up with our nifty little chair umbrella. I'm telling you folks, these things will save your life. Obviously, got it clamped to the tripod. I've got the 10-inch commercial Ektar, that Kodak. That is a 10-inch lens on 8x10, equals out to roughly 300 millimeters or so. I'll have to do the calculations on that. But it's a 6.3. I've already metered everything here with our Sekonic. I will do it again. I'm shooting this Fuji HRU X-ray film at 100 speed. When I checked last, yeah, the water showing 30th of a second f11, with the fence showing roughly the same thing. So I'm going to expose for the shadows of the fence, give us a little bit more time for this water to blur out. Now that's the interesting part, folks. I don't want the water to be completely blurred out to where, and that goes for all the shots we're going to make today. I don't want the water completely blurred out to the point you can't necessarily tell what it is, but seeing as these are abstracts, I kind of want that at the same time.
What the fuck are you talking about, man?
However, if we let the water completely blur out, it's going to be the same as shooting at a cloudless sky. So I have a few objects picked out along the riverbank here. I want those to be the main subject of the picture, with the background always being that moving water, just enough motion to quote-unquote tell what it is. Or at least that's the plan. So yeah, 4 sheets, 4 spots, 4 shots. Let's get to it. I'm in the process of getting us focused up. So what I'm going to do, of course we're in vertical orientation now, I'm going to flip the back of Winston horizontal, and that way probably have to move the tripod up a little bit too. I'm going to shoot at a downward angle, have probably 3 fence poles here, right mid-frame, rest of this over here empty space with a flowing water. I'm going to move everything over, then I'll show you. Have to keep an eye on Leia too. She's roaming around somewhere in the fringe. I am very grateful that the wind decided to lull down. Not too bad. Might have to move the umbrella up a bit. If it stops raining, we really won't need to. It's pretty good. Now, ideally, folks, you notice the tripod, I'd have one leg out in front on the vertical of the camera so it doesn't get so top heavy and want to tip. But we have no ground there. So we're going to play it risky and hope old Winston doesn't go for a swim. Because no joke, I will jump in there to get his ass. Move our try. Up just a tad. Just truthfully. I'm gonna take them off for just a second. I think we're okay. Sun's coming out, so that means, unfortunately, we will have to re-meter. Probably relight our cheroot. It's not half bad. Show you what we're working with here, guys. This is one of the reasons why the movements on large format cameras are so crucial. Now, Winston doesn't have any forward tilt on the front standard. That would have been ideal. That would have taken care of most of our problems. So what I've done, dropped this all the way down. This is called front standard rise and fall. So I have essentially 100% fall. I have shifted left to right, shifted everything over to the left. Now keep in mind, everything's reversed. So left is going to be right. Essentially what we're doing, what I'm about to tell you, is trying to get that background out, have nothing but these fence poles protruding into the water. Now I think we managed to do it. So I had to raise this all the way up in this extremely precarious situation. Seems fairly solid. Raise this all the way up, some shift, massive fall, taken Winston's rear standard, tilted it forward. Again, everything's reversed. Tilted it forward, helped get that far bank out. If it was this bank, I would have tilted it to the rear. So I think we have actually maxed out that rear tilt as well. And this is going to give us this right here, if you can see this. Maybe not. We'll do our best. Again, upside down, so the left is right, the bottom is top. This will be flipped and inverted. See how we've got those fence poles going out into the water. Nothing else but the water. So I'm going to remeter. I'm thinking for the depth of field, a little bit more than this. It's a 6.3 wide open just for the focusing. I'm thinking F11. Earlier that gave us F11 at 30th of a second. I'm thinking with the light coming in, it's going to be like F22 now for that same speed. So let's remeter. Again, 100 ISO. Let's take the water Yeah, F22 at 15. More or less guess that. The fence should be about the same. F22 at 4. So let's go. Again, this has a shutter, but the shutter doesn't work, so we'll have to use the dark cloth as a shutter. Let's do the entire thing at F22. That's a quarter of a second. I think that'll give us exactly what we want. But of course, in this kind of game, folks, nothing is really certain. We've still got a good cloud bank going there. I think we're going to be okay. This exposure will be used for more or less the rest of the shots here. With those, I'm going to get everything set up since you've seen the gist here of how the movements work and what the thinking is. And then I'll just show you the final composition before we make the exposure. Oh yeah, beverage of choice for this kind of knife work, nothing less but straight Evan Williams Kentucky bourbon. Like I said, folks, you wanted commentary, so you're going to get it. Evan Williams, my last, believe it or not, my last Honduran cheroot. Little tiny cigars, smaller than a cigar, bigger than a cigarillo, 100% organic tobacco. If you're going to poison yourself, this is the best thing you can use. Holder number one holder, 2 sides, 2 sheets. Very important that I don't forget to flip the dark slide so I know which one's exposed. Since we're going to do 4 sheets and we only get 1 chance at it. Before I do anything else, so I don't forget, I'm going to go ahead and close up our shutter. It's on bulb, so I'm going to leave it open. Oh, excuse me, I'm not going to close it up. It's on bulb. I'm going to leave that open, and that means before I pull the dark slide out of the holder, I have to make sure we have the front of the lens covered so I don't literally ruin everything and I don't fall in the river. There we go. F22, shutter is still open. Pop in our dark slide, or excuse me, our holder. It drives me crazy when people call these dark slides. The dark slides are part of the holder. It's brightening up just a little bit, guys, but I'm gonna roll with it anyway. Hypothetically, 1 Kodak is 1 second. 1 Kodak, 2 Kodak, 3 Kodak. That's 3 seconds. We're going for a quarter of a second. So I think maybe Koda, maybe about a quarter of a second. We'll see. Something I hadn't counted on. Maybe you can see this. That sun's coming through, giving us a little bit of shadow cast from those poles. Oh no. That is way too bright. We'll put it in the hands of the angel of uncertainty. How about that? Try not to get my own shadow in this. All right. This is not ideal. Winston is 100 years old. I do not like the direct sun going to be shining right here on this holder. Could cause a light leak. Maybe we can juggle this. Hang on. Just think, if some of you were here, you could help me with this. Maybe I need an assistant. Unpaid, of course, but that'll work. All right. So, do that. Can you still see? There you go. And people say we're stupid. That's pretty good. So, shutter. Ah, there's a raindrop on there. Oh no. Disaster. There we go. Pretty good. By the way, this is Winston's original dark cloth, probably from the 1920s. Now I have to be careful not to get that wet again.
That's what she said.
Lens is covered. Want to pull the slide, expose, put the slide back in. Cover your ears, everybody. Coda. There's one. I'm going to pull the holder, cover it up just so we don't have to worry about as much light leaks. Black stripe means shot. Silver or white stripe, unexposed. Now luckily for us, or namely me, we don't have to go far for the next shot. We're actually already there. These are the poles, of course, for this shot. But here's the next one. These waving pieces of aquatic plant life. It's gonna look really good, but now that I'm here, I don't know if this 10-inch commercial is gonna be tight enough to get that and get the bank out of it. I don't know. So what I'm gonna do is drop the tripod down and of course rotate it. I think put a leg right there because I really gonna have to tilt Winston over. Drop the tripod down, drop the camera down, point it right there. Might even switch the ground glass, the back of the camera to vertical. Put all of these right here in the lower third big spot of empty space up there. That may be the only way we can get these in and then get the bank out of it. We're going to be heading down river for a couple of the last shots. I might, if I can't get this, there's a few other plants down there similar, might even move, but we're going to try it here first because we're lazy. Well, unfortunately, that's just not going to work. Big thing, that's all been thrown into shadow now. Very difficult to get an exposure on that. Plus, even if I bring the tripod all the way down to its lower configuration, we're just not going to be able to get that. I wish all these plants were scooted out some. That's just how it goes. I thought about taking it with a little bit of the bank, but I think that's going to throw off the quote-unquote effect that we're going for. It can't go over there because it's too muddy. There's a few plants down there, downriver, where we're actually going to be heading. So I think I'm going to bring the camera down there. The other shot is really that bush. So we got to go down there anyway. And then we'll just see what we can find. Got a good feeling about that right there. Avante. I think this may actually work pretty well. Maybe. Yeah. Get what's important first. During our stroll down, the idea for this is, with Winston's unique spatial capabilities, that big 8x10 format, I'm hoping it's going to be extremely ethereal. The entire effect, 4 images in sort of a series, as they say, with the same type of, God, I hate even to use the term, I guess the artistic aesthetic. Very isolated subjects, very abstract, and hopefully all with the same tone, sort of nature with motion. Told you we're going to come into it. So what I've done, found a semi-dry spot to set this down. Now you stay there. Yep. So what I've done, went ahead and switched old Winston's rear, the ground glass around in the vertical orientation, kind of rough focus it the best I could see. What we're looking at is a vertical shot. That plant that's shaking, I'm going to go with a little bit shorter exposure speed, shutter speed, shorter exposure time. Get this roughly in the lower third, a lot of empty space up top there. So it's going to look kind of sort of like that. Of course, we shall see. Oh, well, look who's came to join us. Watch your step, baby. Warming up, there's snakes. All right, so I'm gonna get this set up and then I'll show you the ground glass with the final composition before we expose. Oh, gotta get the whiskey. Gotta get the whiskey. And hopefully our umbrella is gonna stay put for us while we do our business. Leia, get away from there, baby. Come on, come here. Good girl. Kids. So as far as being ideal, it's not ideal. I've essentially had to do the opposite compositionally of what I had planned on when we set up here. I think it's going to work out though. The problem really arises, I can't go any further with the tripod. This is nothing but quicksand here. So instead of having a lot of empty space up top in the background, we've got a lot of hypothetical empty space, abstract space that is, with the immediate foreground here. Let me show you what I mean. You stay. So you can see, maybe, really blurred out here in the foreground. That little plant, nice and sharp. It's not exactly what I wanted, but I'm going to shoot a much wider aperture, which means a much shorter shutter speed. However, this water is moving a lot faster. I think it's going to give it the same effect. So I'm thinking, well, I'm going to meter it at 6.3 just to see what we're working with. Probably f8 at the smallest aperture. And we'll just do our best. All right, so metering for the darkest areas of the grass here, we're looking at f8 if we're going to shoot at f8 at 1/45th of a second. This doesn't go to f6.3, this only goes to whole stops. So not whole stops. In short, folks, we can't shoot it, we can't meter at f6.3. So we're going to guess, I think maybe 1/50th of a second. Maybe our sweet spot. Because the more I look at this, the more I really want to get as much foreground blur as we can. So I'm going to shoot at 6.3, which is a wildly large aperture for an 8x10. So yeah, let's go 1/50th of a second, give or take, f6.3. Excuse me? Come on. Come on. Come on, Angel. Come on. Stay. Yep. Hey, come here. Lay. Good girl. We'll see. 2 down. Well, the light has absolutely betrayed us, folks, but I think we can deal with it. Because we are at shot number 3, which relatively hopefully, will be much easier and more straightforward than the previous two. All right, guys, running out of time on the GoPro, and I'm running out of patience to film all this nonsense. So here we go. This bush, gonna have to go for a little bit, or a much narrower aperture, because the wind is blowing just slightly. I've got to have that motion in there, otherwise it's going to look like a bush. So we're going at roughly 1/4 of a second again, f/32. Fourth and final. This log is ever so slightly swaying. Leia, get back from there, baby. Trying to take a swim. This log is ever so slightly swaying with the current back and forth. Is it the light decided to get a little crispy on us? And I don't feel like going up there and getting an ND filter, so we're gonna make it work. Shooting to f/45, about 1/3 of a second. We've got a little bit of the bank here in the foreground. I think it's going to work nice. I've got a lot, and I mean maxed out, forward tilt on that rear standard. It's really going to be enlarging the foreground, but it brings it closer to the film, throws it out of focus. Essentially, you're not going to be able to see what any of this stuff is, except for the log. I've cut out the far bank there. I do wish it was either moving not at all or a lot faster. So I'm going to wait for hopefully the moment where that swinging, it starts here. It's probably the closest it's going to get now before it goes back out. So we can wait on that. A watch pod, I guess. But when it's really close, it's of course out of focus, and I'm hoping, there it goes back out, it's going to hit the point of focus and then be in focus with a blur before it and after it. At least that's the plan. Of course, this is photography, so if it looks wrong, we'll just say it's artistic expression. All right, 1/3 of a second, f/45, last shot. I guess I could show you the actual ground glass. It's just really hard with the sun shining in from the side here. Of course, the wind's not doing us any favors either. You can see up top, which is the bottom actual of the photograph, very blurred. Log is in focus, and maybe we can watch it move if the wind doesn't blow the dark cloth. And there it goes. Where it's resting now is probably in the point of critical focus, and I'll just watch it, maybe get it on that swing out. I don't know. Well, I hope you folks enjoyed yourselves, and especially I hope you enjoy the full commentary. It's my sincere wish, my meager contribution here, gave you the level of custom-made entertainment that a few of you feel you are so entitled. Just remember, the next time you want to send me an email or leave a comment saying how things should be done, know that I'm out here getting my hands dirty. I'm out here wading through the mud and the snakes and the shit and the rain for your viewing pleasure with a 24-pound camera and another 20 worth of gear. Don't ever tell me my business again. Like, share, and subscribe.